Hi everyone, and welcome back to Pelicast. Today's episode is going to focus on the PhD study opportunities here at the second Faculty of Medicine, and I will be talking with Dr Nikola Stevanović, who is going to be our guest today. Thank you and enjoy. So hello and welcome. Today's episode is going to focus on PhD study at the second Faculty of Medicine. So would you mind introducing yourself to us?
Yeah, of course. Hi to all of our watchers. I would like to say thank you once again for inviting me. And of course, my name is Nikola Stevanović. I'm a medical doctor. I've graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Niš, Republic of Serbia. And I'm doing my PhD here in neurosciences at druga lékařská fakulta Univerzity Karlovy at the Motol Hospital at the Department for Neurosurgery, but also at the Proton Therapy Center with the Czech Republic.
Perfect, thank you. So can you tell us a bit more about the story of why you chose second faculty, how you got here from Serbia into host?
Yeah, of course. Well, that's a very interesting story, actually. Yeah. So I have always knew that I wanted to pursue a doctorate abroad. That was always my idea. And after finishing my medical degree back in Serbia, I've kind of made a list of potential universities and places. But before that, I had the Erasmus experience here. So I did my second Erasmus here. And I liked the institution very, very much. The biggest part that actually weighted in the favor for druga lékařská fakulta was actually the vividness and the acceptance of the whole academic community, and I really like that. I felt very seen. And the staff, both at the clinic and at the faculty, which I have to confess were more than welcoming and warm and very open. Yeah, so that's why. And of course, Charles University is a very prestigious university with a very high scientific output and with a very, I'd say, profound, history. And that's why, when you say you're from here and doing something here, it really resonates, with other people.
That's also really good to hear that your experience was pleasant so far.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the admission process or how it works? Is there a test, exam?
Yeah, of course. Well, so the admission process is very good structured, I'd say. So some first step would be for you to kind of identify your potential mentor. So in order to get accepted at PhD, I think that's the case for most universities in Europe, basically. You need to have your mentor first. So you need to reach out to your potential supervisor and professor, and that has to do a lot with your, preferred and the domain, scientific domain in medicine that you see yourself in. So you need to kind of make, the classification of that, what you would, potentially want to do with your PhD, and of course with, your topic. So after that, you're, know basically what you want to do. You're going to contact the mentor and the professor from that certain field. You're going to, send an email or try to book, a meeting or have a conversation with your potential supervisor, physically, if you have the, privilege to do that, which I did have, or through email or Zoom calls, or if you're coming from abroad. And after that, your mentor, it's going to say, I'm interested and I have some, certain topics and offers. This is what I'm working with. Are you interested in that? And you're going to say yes or either no. In my case, I said yes immediately, and my mentor and I, we clicked very fast. And after we, settled our agreement and, basically discussed, and we came to a mutual conclusion and, project, we then continued on making a document that is called annotation, or that's kind of a proposal, a research proposal. It's a document, official document, which basically outlines the scientific project of your doctoral thesis. So there's your name, your official doctoral thesis that you've previously discussed with your mentor, the name of your mentor, the scientific unit where you're going to actually, conduct your scientific research, how it's going to be done, what are the aims of your doctorate, what are the research methods, what is the hypothesis of your scientific work, what is that you're expecting basically for that from that period, and of course the financial aspect, how you're going to fund it and how you're going to make it feasible and doable. And after that, you sign that with your mentor. Of course, there is a portal, official portal. It's called, if I'm not mistaken, UCAS. You upload your documents there. But I think the most important part is the annotation. That's the hardest part to do because it requires, communication and finding a right mentor, finding and constructing with your mentor a thesis. And after you've done that, you're going to translate your previous academic prerequisites and education proof, like certificate of acquired higher education, your transcripts of grades, your CV, of course, English language requirements, because if you're doing your PhD in English, like I did, you have to have a certain level of knowledge. And all of that needs to be finalized by the 15th of April. Okay. That was my deadline. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's different for, for different academic year. But in my particular case, that was the deadline. And after you submit your documents, the study department will, authenticate and ratify your documents. And they will make the decision if you're eligible. And if you are, you're going to get an invitation from a subject board area or the committee. And you're going to have an entrance exam, which is, kind of maybe scary for some people. Maybe it sounds scary, but and daunting. But I want to urge and to make it known that it's not scary at all. If you've created and made your annotation on strong fundamentals, there's no need for you to be scared. If you're familiar with your, scientific domain and your thesis particular, that's going to go smooth. And the entrance exam basically functions in a way that you have 5 or 6 professors. I think I had 6. One of them is a chair. They're going to, talk with you. They're going to, pose questions about your project. What is your idea? What is the scientific significance of your research? And why should they, accept you as a PhD student? And yeah, that's how it basically works. And after that, you get the results and you come here and you start your PhD journey and experience. Yeah.
And a very long journey it is.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've always known you wanted to do your PhD and your doctorate. Did you do it as soon as you graduated medical school, or did you take a year break, or how did it work for you?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I think as for everybody, academic journey is a very, personal journey, and it can vary from a person to a person depending on your, background, on your, of course, financial status also, but your ambition and your, drive for the field. In my personal case, I've continued without taking any gap years in between, because I'm also a neurosurgery resident, so my residency is quite long, and I didn't want to, make a pause because I originally knew that it's gonna, take a while. And it's a long process. So that's why I made a decision to start right after I get my medical degree. So yeah, I didn't want to lose any time, which I don't think it's the only way and the only possibility. as I mentioned before, it has to do with your, like personal life situation. I have some friends which, took gap years, and they're more than successful now in their respective fields of research. So yeah, I think it's a very individual thing, and you kind of have to know, what you're working with, what is your end goal, and to make a plan based on that. So it's very individual.
I can imagine it can get very demanding with your residency as well. And where exactly are you doing your residency?
Yeah, so my story is kind of, like perplexed and intricate. So I'm doing my residency back in Serbia, from my original country, at the University Clinical Center of Serbia in Belgrade, at the Clinic for Neurosurgery. So I'm trying to, kind of balance that. It's not very easy, like balancing two countries and two cities that are very far away from each other, but it's very challenging, and I like that. But also it has a lot of ample positive sides as well. You have the access to different countries and their respective health systems and their healthcare organization, but also to their academia setting, and you can see how actually academia functions in my personal case in an EU country that is very well connected with the European system, the numerous scientific institutions and societies, and of course to compare it with my native Serbian healthcare system and with our academic system and basically how things function. And I tend to take the best from the both worlds. So yeah.
It's really good to know that, it's possible to balance starting a career, starting or continuing your academics. It's really good for students to know that it's an option and it's doable. So thank you.
Yeah, of course it is. I think it really depends on the person. If you really want to do it, of course it's feasible. Everything is achievable. I'm a big, advocate for enabling people and students to grasp, their head around concepts in medicine, in clinical work also, and that everything is achievable, everything is doable, nothing is impossible. That's a, very ludicrous thing to say, but of course you need to put it in the work and effort. But you're gonna make it in the end if you're motivated enough, and if you're organized and you have a clear, pathway and mechanism on how we're gonna do it. And if you have all those, prerequisites, of course you're gonna be successful in everything.
And can you maybe go into a bit more detail about what you're doing right now with your PhD? Like, what the actual workload consists of?
Yeah. Well, there's a saying that when you ask a PhD student about their scientific research, there's nothing like more that than that. That they love that the most. So that's like thing that I love to talk about the most. So my thesis is kind of more. I'd not say complicated, but it's very well balanced out, and that was one of the factors that basically voted in favor of me to coming here in Prague. So my thesis is it revolves around a certain pathological entity that's called medulloblastoma, and it's a very very nice connection between few medical domains and few medical areas. So my thesis revolves and deals with a certain factors that are affecting the treatment outcome in pediatric patients with this kind of tumor, medulloblastoma. So I'm doing my thesis, as I mentioned before, at the Clinic for Neurosurgery, but also at the Proton Therapy Center of the Czech Republic, because as we all know, like treatment of oncological diseases and entities includes a variety of therapeutic models and we have the hemotype therapy, we have radiation oncology, and we have surgery. So my thesis deals with basically why some symptoms, occur in children. Why are children after the treatment, going through this loss of speech? Why do they have the motor disabilities? Is that connected, like in length, with the surgical procedure? Does that, revolve around the extent of the surgical resection? Does that have to do something with the, submolecular type of medulloblastoma, which is a forefront of our research? There's not a enough number of papers that deals with the molecular subtype, and we're aiming to see and to analyze, because there are 4 types of medulloblastoma. We're trying to analyze whether, if that's a certain molecular and histological subtype of tumor, if we apply a certain treatment method and treatment, dosage of radiation and a certain approach of neurosurgical treatment, will that eventually enhance and for better the patient outcomes in children? So that's our main goal and our idea for all of this. And yeah, I think it's a very prosperous field, and I do hope that we will find a causative factors, and because our end goal here is to improve the already existing guidelines, or making new ones, because we're dealing with a very very delicate population. Like, children are a very delicate group, and we're very eager, and we're very determined to basically offer the best health service as possible.
And this sounds like very important and interesting work. You mentioned before that when you do your outline of the PhD, you have to mention where your funding is coming from. And this sounds like a long process and probably requires a lot of funding. Can you maybe talk about that, how you managed that?
Yeah, of course. Well, the funding is always, a hot topic, because you can, be passionate, you can have the drive and have the ambition, but you also have to be aware of, how you're going to execute your plan into reality. Not only leave it on the paper as a, dead letter. So there are a few ways and few options for the funding of your project. Primarily, our faculty and university, they grant a certain amount of bursary and scholarship, which is very important, which is a very positive stimuli for your research, but it's not enough. It is a 4-year-long course. PhD, traditionally, it's 4 years, but for a lot of people, it can be prolonged. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to make a plan according to that. There are few programs and few financing grants you can apply to, and all of this is enabled by Charles University. So there is the notorious and the most known one, which is called, I pronounce it as GAUK, or GAUK. It is a Univerzita Karlova grant application, where you basically kind of copy the annotation that you previously did. So that's why it's very important for you. It's gravely important and generally important for you to make a steady and well-structured annotation, because you're going to use it later on for your funding application. So there's a portal. There is of course, deadline also, which is around September to November. That's like the main funding option. GAUK is a very it's very lucrative funding method. It's like up to 300,000 crowns. So it's very helpful if you get it. Apart from that, there is a Primus, which is a European funding option. There is SYV, which is also a European Council funding option. So there is a plethora of possibilities and funding options which you can apply to. And that's where the university and faculty staff comes into play. I've been, counseled by my PhD study department to apply. I was aware of some of these, options, but for some of those I wasn't just familiar with. So I've been, approached by my study department, and they've helped me a lot. So yeah, you also have certain deadlines and the guidelines by which you need to make your application. You apply, and traditionally the decision for your regarding your application comes 2 to 3 weeks. So yeah, that's very, very useful, and basically it can get you through the whole process. And also I have to emphasize on the ability and the possibility for you to work. If you're doing a clinical dissertation and thesis, you can be employed by your clinic. Like in my personal situation, I'm employed by the neurosurgical clinic of Motol University Hospital. So I work as a PhD research assistant. So I have, funding there as well. And that has to do a lot with your mentor. So finding a good mentor, it's a very, it's a crucial part of the application, and finding a common ground with your supervisor and, discussing about all the possibilities and, but you also have to be the one that, is giving the impulse, to your mentor. You cannot, stand and wait something, to be, given to you. It's not gonna go that way. But the department staff is much more, and it's very understanding, and they do want to help you, and they do want to succeed. So yeah,
it's perfect. That's really good to know that there's a support system for PhD students here. And maybe kind of linking to that, because you did not study your degree here at the second faculty or in the Czech Republic. Can you maybe tell us about your experience with living here after you didn't live here previously, and just overall for, if there's an international person interested in studying here, what's your overall impression?
Yeah, well, Prague is very internationalized. There are a lot of international people from all over the world and Europe. So right off the bat, that would be a very important, factor in navigating your life here upon your arrival. When I arrived, I had support from the PhD student organization, which is located in Chybinska campus in Prague, in center of the old city. They're organizing numerous conferences. They also have fresher weeks for PhD students, where they basically want to familiarize you with how this is gonna go, what is the thought and the thinking background and process. They're also very very strong on emphasizing the psychological needs and psychological support. So if you're coming from totally different background in some country that is not in Europe, it's gonna be kind of harder for you. For me personally, it wasn't, because I feel like I'm very close to Czech mentality and to Czech language and culture, because I'm from Serbia, so I'm closer to that note. But for the people that are not, I'd say, and I'd urge them not to be scared or not to be afraid, because they're gonna be met with support. There are support systems, there are support methods. There are people that are dealing with this kind of matter, and you're always gonna have someone to talk with, to have a coffee with. And I, from my personal experience, when I took part in these activities from the doctoral center at Chybinska, I felt like all doctoral students, have a need to talk and to connect with each other and to kind of create this kind of, create a network between themselves. And now I have a lot of friends from different countries, even from different continents. So I'd say do not be scared. You're gonna make it through. Yeah. And the another factor that's basically going into our favor is that druhá lékařská fakulta already has an English MD program. So there are international students here. There's a certain community here, and Czech students and the hospital staff, they're all used to English students. So no one will be surprised if you speak English with them, which I have to admit and be very honest about that. I didn't expect, because I thought, okay, I'm coming to Czech Republic. Of course, it's natural for me to learn Czech, to be able to communicate and to alleviate and to mitigate all the maybe negative sides, because I didn't expect from people here to go by the beat of my own drum. I wanted to also show respect to them and to show their respect to Czechia and to my mentor. But my mentor was very funny. He was like, Nico, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. It takes time. We're very all of us here are very well equipped with English knowledge, and we're gonna try to stimulate you and to meet all your requirements. But of course, we appreciate your honesty and your willingness to familiarize yourself with Czech language. So that's useful. So I think that you don't have to be proficient in Czech beforehand. You don't have to have some crazy level of knowledge about Czech language and Czech culture, but it's also good to be open-minded and to try and to work on that. So yeah, that's something that I would like to put out there, because I myself didn't expect that.
Yeah. And I can imagine for you particularly, it might be a bit more challenging working with kids, because not a lot of children at the young age know English that well. How has that been?
That's a very good question. Yeah, that's a very good question. So I want to, put it out there that Motol University Hospital is a specialized pediatric institution. It is very specific compared to the institutions that I had previously experience with from my native country, from Serbia. So you have to be ready to, if you're doing a clinical thesis, to potentially encounter children and pediatric patients, which is challenging in different ways. Firstly, if you're, soft-hearted, you're going to see, children that are dealing with the very serious conditions and diseases. So you have to, be very stark regarding that. You have to be very well balanced, not to, let that get you very, very, very near and profound in first phase of your doctorate. And the second factor that plays a big part is, of course, language, because these are children. They don't speak English, of course, because they're they're here with their parents, and that's the situation where the staff of your training unit comes to play. I had help from my advisor at Proton Therapy Center, Dr. Barbara Androva and Yuri Kubesh, Professor Docent Yuri Kubesh, where they, for example, when I go to my clinic and when I go to observe patients, they would first introduce me to the patient. They would explain what I'm, basically doing here, and not to be, scared or something of that matter. And of course, that's where Czech language comes into play, and it's very useful. And that's why you should kind of try to grasp the basic concept of the language. So with mutual effort from my side and from my mentors or advisors' side, we kind of deal with that with ease, and I have been able to communicate with patients, easily. I mean, at the beginning, it's not very easy, but after some time, you get familiar with phrases, with words, and how you're gonna do it. And especially my mentor, and like the main guy, Professor Vladimir Benish, he was more than welcoming, and his posture and demeanor from the first day was, like we're gonna do it. Don't be scared, And he was, of course, learn some Czech. It's gonna be useful, and we also had some patience, and yeah, that was very helpful, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm gonna continue with trying to learn Czech, even though it's kind of a little bit ambitious regarding the difficulty level of the language. But yeah, everything is feasible, so don't get scared.
Okay, so you're doing your residency, you're doing your PhD, and you're learning a new language. Do you have any advice for someone who might want to do something similar in the future? How do you balance?
Yeah, well, it's doable. Like I have to say, if you're passionate enough, if you're minded, and if you're determined to do it, you're gonna do it. Like everything is possible, if you have enough amount of energy and motivation. Sometimes, of course, I don't want to sit here and speak about this like everything's unicorn and milk. Of course, it's not. There are always negative sides to this story, especially if you're like moving abroad. If you're, in my case, balancing between two countries, it's physically demanding, is financially demanding, and it's like, of course, time demanding. But I, for now, managed to do it very well, and to make and to kind of reach a point of equilibrium and balance between these activities. So my advice would be, give it a chance. Don't think too much about it without like previously doing it. See for yourself. See if it's like that's something that you want to do. In the end, and you're gonna do it. Like I firmly believe, I'm a believer. That's my character and my personality basically. So if you're motivated enough, personally for me, my thesis has a very clear aims, and our aim is to try to help these pediatric patients that are the most vulnerable group of patients, and that gives me motivation. Even sometimes it's very difficult to see, how hard they fight, how hard they try, but that's something that keeps me going, and that's something that has a meaning to me and to my, of course, mentor and my training unit, and that gives me more knowledge and more experience and more expertise to apply when I go back to Serbia and when I do my residency, because I'm equipped with knowledge and with the most modern methods that are, for example, not available in Serbia, but that are available here in Prague in Czechia. So that's something that pushes me to go on, and I think that that's the same for all other researchers, no matter if they're doing preclinical research or clinical. I think we all have an end goal, and that's enhancing the already existing guidelines and facts in science. We're trying to find something new. We're trying to make some kind of breakthrough, even though it's a minimal breakthrough, but it's still a breakthrough, and to have some significant, some scientific significant contribution.
I think it's really, really inspiring and important to hear that the PhD research is not just science; it's helping people.
Yeah, it's much more than that. It's I kind of see it and regard it as a community service. And healthcare in Serbia and in Czechia, they're public and they're state funded. We do have some kind of, combination with private practice or and some kind of combination of that. But you're basically, serving the people you're surrounded with. And maybe in the future, your research is going to be, seen, is going to be acknowledged by the other doctors and people somewhere, on this globe. And because of your research and your, engagement and your work and adamant effort, someone somewhere will be treated better. And, that would make a difference, in the final thought. So that's very important. And I think all researchers that are maybe watching us can...
Potential researchers.
Yeah, and potentially, new PhD students and, medical students that maybe are thinking about pursuing a career in PhD and research, area. They, have to know, and I'm here to, familiarize them with this, that there is a stark reason why you should go into scientific research and do a PhD. And one additional thing that I want to emphasize on is the flexibility of PhD program and course here at Druhá lékařská fakulta. So there's, as I mentioned, the annotation document before you apply and after you apply. And after you get admitted and you officially enroll and become a PhD student here, there is a one document that's called ISP, or Individual Study Plan, which is your personal individual discourse on how you're going to deal with, all your activities. This document incorporates all your activities, all your curriculums, all your subjects that you're going to take. So there is a certain amount of subjects that are, compulsory and mandatory that you need to take them. These include, the methodology courses on how you're going to do your research, how you're going to present your research, how you're going to make your research available to other people, and how you're going to convey your scientific message. So these courses take place, for example, at Czech Academy of Sciences here in Prague. That's one important prerequisite. Other prerequisite and mandatory course depends on your program, whether I'm in neurosciences, so of course I'm going to have some compulsory courses in that regard and in that respective area. So for the colleagues that are doing maybe microimmunology and experimental surgery and pathology and other areas, that can of course vary and differ from program to program, but you will have some kind of important course. So there's that. There, we're mandatory courses, and there are also, additional courses that you can, take, which I find very useful and very special to Charles and to Druhá lékařská fakulta. So you can choose as many courses as you want to. There is no restriction, there is not official restriction. Well, I didn't see it. But you don't need to take a crazy amount of number courses, but you have the possibility. So the thing that I did, I took a course which is taught at Faculty of Science and at Prvá lékařská fakulta. So you're not restricted at your faculty, your original faculty. So that's very, very useful because you get to meet other scientific and PhD researchers there at those institutions that are working at those institutions. And you have the flexibility of combining other potential areas and, find that conjunction, scientific conjunction, which can, of course, in the end, enhance your knowledge. And, of course, there is a requisite for you to, a requirement for you to publish. For now, there is a requirement for you to publish one original paper and to be, of course, first author and to be co-authored on 2 papers. And you have to do an internship abroad, which is a very, very alluring option for me because I love to go everywhere and all around. And you have to attend conferences. You have to have one international conference and you have to have one national conference, which is Vědecká konferencia here at our faculty. So yeah, I think that's like all the important parts that I mentioned. I hope that I didn't forget something. But yeah, that's how basically it functions. And you have an annual assessment of your progress every year. At the end of every year, the subject board area, they're gonna gather with you and your mentor, and they're gonna see on how you're doing. What did you do? According to your outlined individual study program, if you're fulfilled your stated requirements, and did you take those courses? Have you done your research, published something, and yeah, etc. So that's like a broad explanation.
So with the ISP, as you mentioned, is there a limit on the amount of years that you can technically be a student? On if you can, extend it, make it shorter, faster?
Yeah, well, I think you cannot make it faster. 4 years, I think it's short amount of time and period, but that's a short period of time for you to make something from scratch, from nothing, and to make it, and to basically make it a reality. So I think there is a legal possibility for you to prolong it. I'm not sure how much, maybe 6 years or double amount of predicted period of time, maybe 8 years, but I'm not sure in that. I urge our viewers and watchers to check that, to verify that. But you have the ability to do that. And that's important to say because, 4 years, that's a long period of time. You never know what's going to happen to you, personal life, family life, health issues maybe. So there's always room for you to catch on, to keep up. So that's one of many reasons that I mentioned why I ultimately chose druhá lékařská fakulta, because I feel like our program and our study department and our mentors are not so strict and rigid. They do have a certain degree of flexibility because, they're, in my case, they're clinicians. They're very aware of that not everything goes according to plan. So there's always a space, and kind of room for prolonging or for reaching out, for asking for help if you need. And if you didn't take some courses that year that you wanted originally to take, it's not a big deal. You can do it next year, but put effort, put energy into it, and yeah, you're gonna make it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all of that. Just maybe to wrap up, do you have any final words of advice for anyone looking to study PhD here with us?
Yeah, thank you once again for inviting me. I'm very honored and very happy to be here and to share my experience with others, because I know how important it was for me to get some kind of info and a basic concept how things function. So my advice to all our viewers and students and potential PhD researchers would be do it. Go for it. I would always go for it because there's nothing that you're gonna lose. The only thing you can basically get it from this experience are new information, new knowledge, new connections with people in the scientific community, but also new personal experience on how you're gonna tackle some problems, on how you're gonna deal with some difficulties. So you're gonna grow. You're gonna grow in every single way, in every single domain. And I don't see a reason why not to do it. So yeah, I would, send a message and words of support. And yeah, I hope we'll see new faces next year.
Perfect. Thank you so much again.
Thank you once again for your time and for your effort and for the ability chats.